It's much more convenient for people to divide the world into the righteous and the damned, let's say, and then to persecute the damned.
Right.
Well, it's convenient too, because whatever resentment and hatred and bitterness you have in your heart, and you have plenty of that, generally speaking, if you're a social justice type, because you regard yourself as oppressed, and then that's a great starting point for resentment and hatred, right? To be a victim. We know that one of the precursors to genocide, and I'm not saying at all that we're near that state, I'm not saying that, but one of the precursors to genocide in a genocidal state or in a pre-genocidal state is the acceptance of victim status by the eventual perpetrators. Because the idea is, well, like, we're innocent, we're being persecuted, and those people are going to get us, so eventually that becomes, well, we'll get them first. And it gives you, so you have a target for all your resentment and your hatred, and it's a justifiable moral target. And so all the part of yourself that you don't recognize as contributing to whatever problem you think, now pollutes the world, you can ignore all that. You're on the side of the good. There's no moral effort required. And then you have someone to conveniently hate and hit and hurt. And all the while, you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm on the side of the good.
I'm just punching Nazis.
Right.
Right. Well, is there
or hitting them with bike locks, while you dart out behind a woman who's conveniently standing in front of you.
Is there an evolutionary origin for what we were talking about in regards to a soldier being able to commit these horrible atrocities in the name of war, to these people that are able to look at someone who has a differing ideology as the other and attack them as almost like a subhuman? Is there some sort of an evolutionary origin for this disassociative sort of thinking and behavior that some people seem to? I mean, it seems like a very common thing throughout history.
Sure, anything that isn't part of your dominance hierarchy is a snake. It's that. And it actually makes sense from an evolutionary perspective. I mean, first of all, we are tribal primates, right? And our optimal group size seems to be something like 250. We can keep track of about that many social relationships, and that's also
Dunbar's number.
That's right, exactly, and that's correlated with brain size, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, and so you might say, well, why that size? And then you might say, well, a hierarchy has to be optimized for two functions. And one is, well, you want to be able to climb the damn thing. So if it's really, really big, the probability that you're going to climb it is really low. And if it's too small, well, who cares if you climb it?
Oh,
so you want
it,
you want it somewhere that's big enough to climb and powerful enough to make the climb worthwhile. And so there's some optimization there. Now, so you might think of everything within that hierarchy as explored territory. And the reason for that is that explored territory is where, when you do something, you get what you want. So think about the conditions under which the limits of your knowledge manifest themselves. I mean, there's all sorts of things you don't know, a trillion things, but you're not sitting there like torturing yourself to death because there's a trillion things you don't know. But then if you go out in the world and you act something out, and the outcome isn't what you desired, then that registers an error. So let's say you're at a party and you tell a joke and no one laughs. Well, the party, think about what happens to the space around the party. When you tell the joke, the second before you tell the joke, you're in one place. And the second after you tell the joke, when there's an awkward silence and everybody is looking embarrassed, you are no longer in the same place. You've stepped outside the protective embrace of that particular hierarchy, and you've made yourself an alien. And the thing that people use to process the alien is the snake detector, the serpent detector, the dragon detector. And it's always been that way, because anything that's outside the hierarchy is a threat. Any stranger, any strange idea, any animal manifestation, any noise, any spirit, it's a threat to the integrity of the dominance hierarchy, and in many, many ways.